Hello and welcome to the first of three videos in which I will be going over and describing the code and giving a tutorial at the end in the third video. In this video, I'm going to be going over all the scripts that I wrote, or at least most of them, giving a brief overview of each one and what it does, and explaining how it is integrated into the challenge. So as you can see in my GitHub file here, we have a file called system setup. If you click on this, it gives us two options, opt and var. So within this is where we keep the makesecret.sh file. So in this file, which I'll touch on in video 2 in better detail, this is where the secret text file is made using this code here. Okay, so in the var file, we have the CGI bin, which contains check.cgi and do.cgi. So check.cgi is what we use at the end of our challenge when we want to go check our results. So as you can see here, check.cgi. So let's enter the wrong flag. It says not yet, and we enter the right flag. Well done. So yep, so that code is executed, and yes, so we can see well done there, yep, and not yet there. Okay, so then do.cgi serves up a file from the web server. This is our deliberate exploit to allow the hacker to get the key, um, and it's designed so that it can allow for further attacks on the server, such as a rootkit or something like that, but we ran out of time for that, obviously, so I've just stuck with this. So what this code does right now is it adds an X encryption header to try and give the user a bit of a hint. So if we go over here and have a look, we can see our X encryption header, and what that does, it gives the user a bit of a hint to where the private key, what it is, and that it's a private key, because obviously they can't discern that text. And yeah, so what it does is it'll just echo a missing parameter after cgi.blend/do. That's an automated process. That's just something we've put in, as you can see there. And they'll have to go search for that, do a bit of reconnaissance. Okay, so in the HTML, we have our check.html, which is our HTML page for the welcome page. And we have our index.html, which is the HTML page for our so that one's for our welcome page, and this one is the yes, and this one is the guess the secret page. Okay, so just a little bit more about this index page. What we have here, this is where we write our tip, which is basically the hint that we're giving the person, and this is where we have our web server in which someone will try to hack into. Okay, so then we have a firewall page, and this script updates the firewall settings and adds the HTTPS server to the workstation zone to allow web traffic that is secure to port 443, which will remain the same. So if we want to disable the roam access via SSH, it will remove the SSH server from the Fedora workstation zone, and then also saves the firewall. So it reloads the firewall. So we add the HTTPS server to the firewall, removes the SSH server from the firewall, and reloads the firewall. And then it'll echo firewall configuration has been updated successfully if the script runs as intended, which it does. And as you can see, just a note here that it checks if the script is run as root. The EUID variable gives the effective numeric ID of the user running the script. The effective ID takes into account the privilege escalation via sudo. An EUID of 0 is the root user, otherwise it has failed. So if we look at the setup.https, so the functionality, obviously, it installs the Apache web server, and then we're going to start and enable the Apache web server and the service, and then we're going to generate the private key using OpenSSL rec new key RSA 2048, so that we're going to use uh, bit. We're going to use 2048 bit. And then we're going to use this command will pop up a couple times. So this X509 tool we'll use quite a couple times, and obviously we're specifying this, and then this is the location. So this will come up if we click on the certificate and we go to certificate details. Um, we should be able to find somewhere here. But yeah, and you see on the subject we have all that information. So this is basically creating the certificate with the public key. Okay, so then they're going to configure Apache to use the SSL certificate. And yeah, as you can see there, so that's when we're setting there. The header, SSL X file retrieve endpoint, company appliance. So these are kind of our red herrings to try and throw them off the case here, because obviously, um, even though this does have application, this is just a bit of a red herring, bit of fun to kind of throw them off. And then this is obviously our real one, because we see that CGI bin, so let's do CGI. So someone's going to have the knowledge of what that does to then be able to exploit that vulnerability. So then, um, yep, we're going to start and enable the Apache service, and the script will run. So that's what that script does. So those are our scripts that we use to enable our challenge to run, from the welcome screen to the headers to then obviously our errors and the files we asked for. So this was a very brief overview of what all the files do. But after this, um, in the next video, we're going to talk more in depth about the uh, Muscle opt make secret.sh and how to make that secret file, and then we're going to do a complete tutorial and run through of the entire challenge, explaining in detail how we've obviously implemented this code. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in part 2.